Excellencies and distinguished delegates, I would at first like to thank all the members for having elected me as a chair of the Assembly of the PCT Union. And a warm welcome to the PCT Union Assembly to all delegations and observers. I am very pleased to welcome the accession to the PCT Union of the independent state of Samoa, who deposited its instrument of accession just before this session of the Assembly. And that brings the number of PCT contracting states to 153. Congratulations. In addition, since the last session of this Assembly, in October 2018, the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines started operations as an international searching and preliminary examining authority, and I wish them every success in this new venture. And we now open agenda item 22, PCT system, and there are 3 documents under our consideration today, as stated in the list of documents. And we will address these documents separately, one after the other. We now move to the first issue under this item and to the document PCT/A/51/1 entitled Report of the PCT Working Group. And I would like to invite Mr. Sandage, Deputy Director General, Patents and Technology Sector, to briefly introduce the document, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Document PCT/A/51/1 sets out a report on the 12th session of the PCT Working Group, which was held here in Geneva in June of this year. The working group again had a full agenda with 25 agenda items and 23 working documents demonstrating the continued interest in the development of the PCT system as the central pillar of the international patent system to bring about further improvements for the benefit of offices and users. Concerning changes to the PCT regulations approved by the working group, a separate working document, which is document 2, has been submitted to this Assembly for decision. The working group also considered the criteria for certain fee reductions, which the Assembly is required to review periodically. Again, a separate working document has been submitted to this Assembly for decision, which is document 3. We will get to both documents 2 and 3 in a few minutes' time. I do not intend to go into detail with regard to any of the items discussed during the 12th session of the working group. The summary by the chair of the meeting is attached to document 1, and it gives a good overview of the items discussed and the agreements reached by the working group. The Secretariat would, of course, be happy to answer any questions the delegations might have on any of the matters considered by the working group. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank you, Mr. Sandage, and now I would like to open the floor for delegations, please. And now the floor goes to Colombia, please.
Señor Presidente, Colombia reitera su apoyo para someter a aprobación de la Asamblea la convocatoria a una reunión del Grupo de Trabajo del PCT entre el periodo de sesiones en curso y el periodo de sesiones de 2020 y que en la siguiente reunión se ofrezca la misma asistencia financiera que se ha ofrecido para permitir la participación de más delegaciones en las discusiones del tratado. De la misma manera, consideramos pertinente la propuesta de modificación del reglamento del Tratado de Cooperación en materia de patentes en relación con salvaguardias en caso de interrupciones que afecten a las oficinas, correcciones y adiciones de indicaciones en virtud de la regla 4.11. C. Elementos y partes de las solicitudes internacionales presentadas por error y transferencia de tasas del PCT. Finalmente, Colombia apoya y reitera la importancia de mantener los criterios para establecer las listas de los estados cuyos nacionales y residentes reúnen los requisitos para beneficiarse de la reducción de las tasas del PCT. Cierta es la eficacia de este beneficio, Las cifras que se mostraron en el grupo de trabajo muestran la importancia de aplicar las reducciones a personas físicas residentes en los países beneficiarios en contraposición con la disminución del número de solicitudes presentadas en los países en los que ya no se aplican reducciones. Muchas gracias.
I thank the delegation of Colombia. И сейчас слово предоставляется делегации Российской Федерации.
Большое спасибо, господин председатель. Делегация Российской Федерации принимает отчет рабочей группы, в котором отражены вопросы, относящиеся к функционированию системы PCT, и высоко оценивает деятельность Международного бюро ВАИС по совершенствованию PCT, в частности по развитию онлайн-услуг, предоставляемых ведомством и заявителям. Роспатент, действующий как получающее ведомство, международный поисковый орган и орган международной предварительной экспертизы, активно использует сервисы ВАИС и PCT, и SearchCopy, а также систему PCT-EDI для обмена документами с Международным бюро. С каждым годом увеличивается число российских заявок, которые используют систему PCT для подачи международных заявок, так и для предоставления последующих документов в международные органы. Российская делегация поддерживает проект МБ-ВАИС, направленный на более эффективное использование на национальной фазе документов, сформированных на международной фазе, а именно на создание сервисов по переводу международных заявок на национальную фазу, в частности, путем совершенствования системы ePCT. Мы надеемся на продолжение этой работы. Роспатент также благодарит Международное бюро за конструктивную работу, направленную на поиск компромиссного решения по вопросу снижения пошлин для университетов и государственных научно-исследовательских учреждений из развивающихся и наименее развитых стран. Надеемся на выработку взаимоприемлемого для всех стран решения по данному вопросу. И делегация Российской Федерации не возражает против принятия поправок в инструкцию к договору о патентной кооперации, вынесенных сегодня на обсуждение. Спасибо.
Благодарю делегацию Российской Федерации за высказанное мнение. Are there any delegation wishing to take the floor at this stage? It seems not to be the case, and that allows me to thank all those delegations for their statements made. And I would like to propose the following decision paragraph contained in the document concerned. The Assembly of the PCT Union took note of the report of the PCT Working Group, that is document PCT/A/51/1, and approved the convening of a session of the PCT Working Group as set out in paragraph 4 of that document. I see no objection, and it is so decided. Thank you. We now move to the second issue under this item and to the document PCT/A/51/2 entitled Proposed Amendments to the PCT Regulations. And I would like to once more invite Mr. John Sandage to briefly introduce the document, please.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Document PCT/A/51/2 sets out the proposed amendments to the PCT regulations. These amendments were discussed by the PCT Working Group in June this year, and the PCT Working Group unanimously agreed to recommend that this Assembly should adopt the amendments as proposed. The amendments fall into 5 groups. Annex 1 of the document sets out provisions concerning safeguards in case of outages affecting offices based on a proposal originally submitted by the European Patent Office to allow offices to simplify the process of excusing failures to meet certain time limits due to outages of electronic systems. Annex 2 sets out provisions concerning correction or addition of indications in the request under Rule 4.11 based on a proposal originally submitted by the United States of America to allow correction of errors or omissions in indications of the type of protection to be sought in the national phase. Annex 3 sets out provisions concerning erroneously filed elements and parts of international applications. These amendments are aimed at aligning the practices of receiving offices and designated or elected offices in the special case where an applicant has erroneously filed a wrong element or part of the international application. In addition, paragraph 7 of document 2 sets out 2 proposed understandings by the Assembly aimed at further improving the consistency of application by offices of the regulations as amended. Annex 4 sets out provisions concerning the transfer of PCT fees. These are enabling provisions allowing for administrative instructions to be made, setting out consistent procedures on transferring fees from one office to another via the International Bureau. This would formalize the netting pilot, which many offices have been participating in and which have welcomed. And it should be emphasized that these rules will assist offices that wish to use the new arrangement, but do not provide new obligations on offices facing legal or administrative barriers to adopting this approach. Annex 5 sets out provisions concerning availability of the file held by the International Preliminary Examining Authority based on a proposal originally submitted by Singapore to allow greater transparency by permitting more documents related to the International Preliminary Examination procedure to be made available to the public. It is proposed that all of the proposed amendments to the regulations should enter into force on July 1st, 2020, and to be subject to transitional provisions set out in paragraph 6 of the document, aimed at providing the desired effects as soon as practicable, while minimizing the administrative burdens on national offices. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sandage, and I would now like to offer the floor to delegations. And the first to take the floor is International Federation of Intellectual Property Attorneys. Please.
Yes, I'd like to thank the Chair for the opportunity to make this statement on behalf of FICPI. FICPI believes that applicants should be permitted to correct very formal and obvious mistakes without losing substantive rights. In this regard, FICPI supports the objectives of the Patent Law Treaty and welcomed the introduction of the Patent Law Treaty type provisions into the PCT. Clearly, those provisions added to the PCT were intended to serve the same purpose as the PLT, namely to make the patent system more user-friendly while preserving a proper balance between the interests of the various stakeholders. For FICPI, this extends to the substitution of erroneously filed elements or parts thereof with the correct element or part as contained wholly in one or more priority applications, provided that the requirements of Rule 20 are met with certain safeguards as indicated by FICPI at the workshop organised by the International Bureau in June last year. FICPI is concerned that the amendments to the PCT rules proposed by the working group to be considered at this meeting will not achieve the intended purpose of aligning practices with respect to the incorporation by reference of elements or parts to be found in a priority application, but will instead introduce further uncertainty and divergence of practices within offices. The increased use of ePCT increases the risk for incorrect documents to be uploaded from a computer. Accordingly, there is a need for a remedial provision. Of particular concern is a situation where an incorrect element is a different kind of document, for example, a claim instead of a description, or is clearly related to a different invention, possibly for a different client. In such circumstances, there will still be uncertainty as to whether the element of the subject application is missing or erroneously filed, even with the proposed rule changes. In the business world, if such a document was inadvertently sent to a party, it would be either returned by that party without keeping a copy, or all copies would be destroyed by the party. FICPI believes that it is appropriate for WIPO or receiving office to take similar action and does not support a process that would result in retaining such an incorrect document in WIPO's database. In FICPI's view, neither publishing the document marked erroneously filed as proposed in the rules, nor retaining the document unpublished in the WIPO file following a request under Rule 48.2L serves the interests of any of the stakeholders. Therefore, FICPI believes it is appropriate for the International Bureau and the PCT Working Group to resolve this problem by introducing additional or alternative rule changes into the PCT regulations so as to achieve a better alignment between the various PCT authorities with respect to the incorporation by reference of elements or parts to be found in a priority application. The incorrect document should be totally removed from the application, possibly by introducing a new rule to cover such removal. Thank you very much.
I thank the representative of FICPI for the view expressed, and now the floor goes to Knowledge Ecology International, please.
Thank you very much. Just a couple of short points, and not for action today necessarily, but going forward, it might be interesting to think of different areas where the PCT could expand the information that's part of the system in some ways in the database, since it's such a visible place where people look for information about patents, to include such items as, even on a voluntary basis, information about licenses that are connected to the patent, assertions of prior art that are done in various jurisdictions where the patent's been filed, or the INN for medical treatments which are related to the patent. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Knowledge Ecology International. And is there any other delegation who is willing to take the floor at this stage? It seems not to be the case, and I would like to offer the floor to the office to respond to the comments.
Thank you very much. We'd like to thank FICPI for their interest in improving the PCT system. The International Bureau believes that the rules that we're proposing for adoption today are, in fact, a step forward for applicants in mitigating the problems which can be caused by mistakes in the filing process. It is true that these rules do not go as far as FICPI might like. However, it appeared in the discussions that member states were not willing to see any matter removed entirely from the file without changing the international filing date to reflect the timing of the relevant change. Consequently, we continue to recommend that the amendments be adopted as proposed in document 2. We would encourage user groups to continue to discuss their concerns over this type of issue with their national and regional offices, and we would be very happy to bring further proposals to the PCT working group if member states consider that there is a realistic opportunity for further improving these safeguard provisions in the future. In the meantime, we will make clear in the PCT applicant's guide the means by which errors in filing can best be mitigated, but we would emphasise the importance of taking the utmost care to select the correct documents when filing an international application, because simply some mistakes cannot be corrected. With regard to the comments by Knowledge Economy International, that's the correct Knowledge Ecology, sorry. We would certainly point out that some of what you were talking about is already available within our systems. We would be delighted to talk with you or any others who have ideas on how we can make people more aware of the options that are available, or improve those options for the future, whether administratively or by bringing new proposals to the PCT working group to improve the rules further in a way that makes this PCT system more useful for all the stakeholders. Thank you.
I thank all delegations for their statements and clarifications made. And now I would like to propose the following decision paragraph contained in the document concerned. The Assembly of the PCT Union adopted the proposed amendments to the regulations under the PCT set out in Annexes 1 to 5 of document PCT/A/51/2 and the entry into force and transitional arrangements set out in paragraph 6 of the same document, and adopted the understandings set out in paragraph 7 of the document PCT/A/51/2. I see no objection, and it is so decided. Thank you. And that allows us now to move to the next issue under this item and to the document PCT/A/51/3 entitled Review of Criteria for PCT Fee Reductions for Applicants from Certain Countries. And I would now like to invite Mr. Sandage to introduce the document, please.
Once more, thank you, Mr. Chairman. At its 46th session back in 2014, the Assembly adopted amendments to the Schedule of Fees concerning the criteria for determining eligibility for reductions in certain PCT fees. The Schedule of Fees so amended requires the Assembly to review the criteria at least every 5 years. Document PCT/A/51/3 provides information concerning the criteria for determining eligibility for fee reductions under Item 5 of the Schedule of Fees, the number of applications benefiting from those fee reductions, and the number of applications made by different classes of applicant before and after the changes to the lists of eligible states came into effect from 1st July 2015. The PCT Working Group discussed the information shown in document PCT/A/51/3 and unanimously recommended to the Assembly to maintain the criteria in their current form and to review them again in 5 years' time. The Assembly is therefore invited to review the criteria and follow the recommendations by the Working Group. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sandage, and I would now like to offer the floor to the delegations, please. It seems that everybody is content with the revised criteria, and that allows me to propose the following decision paragraph contained in the document concerned. That the Assembly of the PCT Union decided, having reviewed the criteria set out in Item 5 of the PCT Schedule of Fees, that those criteria be maintained, and decided that those criteria be reviewed again by the Assembly in 5 years' time, as required by the schedule. I see no objection, and it is so decided. Thank you. And with this last issue, we have concluded the work of the PCT Assembly, and now I would like to hand over to the Secretary of the Assemblies for the smooth transitioning to the next agenda item, and thank all of you for your cooperation. Thank you.